So Coraline has just been offered button eyes, and even though she initially has a big reaction where she screams out, "No way!" Coraline has really had to suppress a lot of her feelings because she's finally realized that the other mother is not as nice or as safe as she's pretended to be. And Coraline was very clever to say that she's tired and needs to go to bed, and how she wants to sleep on the decision to get button eyes, because the beldam didn't give her a time limit to decide. So there's technically no reason why she should argue about Coraline thinking things over. But of course, Coraline's real plan is to fall asleep in the other world and wake up in her real world bedroom, which is logical because that's what's happened the last 2 times she came to the other world. Except this time it doesn't work. So let's fully dissect this escape scene and see if we can find any new clues to talk about. Hey guys, I'm Megan, and this is the Fangirl, and someone left me a really good comment that I can't find now where they said I should ask people to post phrases as comments instead of asking them to construct their own comment. So if you're here with me and you would like to give me a free algorithm boost, leave me a comment with how many times you've seen Coraline. Personally, I've got to be in triple digits at this point. How about you? But Coraline's reaction to being offered the button is nothing short of brilliant. And that move was extremely emotionally intelligent for her age. Because Coraline freaks out about the idea of button eyes at first, but then she sees the beldam get angry with the other father and realizes that she's actually doing a dance of survival now. So both Coraline and the other mother put their masks on and pretend like everything is fine. That is, at least until Coraline can get out of sight. And then Coraline races to get into her other room. Also notice that the window next to her room here looks totally normal. There's a crystal clear starry sky, no swirling smoke out there at all. But Coraline shuts the door to her room and pushes against it hard, as if that's somehow going to seal the door shut. And immediately, the button-eyed dragonfly toys are flying around asking Coraline, "What's wrong? Don't you want to play?" And obviously the beldam has to be controlling these things right now, which does help show us that everything with a button eye is being puppeted by the beldam, because these toys should have no idea what happened in the dining room a few seconds ago. And that's also further reinforced by the squid octopus toy saying, "Yeah, I want to hug your face," and the giraffe tank thing telling Coraline to "get a grip, soldier." I don't recall either of them talking before. Now suddenly, they're trying to entice Coraline to stay. And the lighting in her room is different now, so everything feels less warm and inviting and a lot more creepy. So Coraline snatches up all the toys she can grab, but before she can do anything, her photograph is screaming "hey" at her, where now Coraline's 2 friends from Michigan are asking, "Where's your buttons, Loper?" Which is real Michigani slang to mean someone from the lower peninsula of Michigan. Thank you to the commenter who explained that. However, now that Coraline isn't enchanted by her other room, and she's finally having some common sense on fear, she shuts all of the sentient items in her trunk, saying out loud to them that she's going home tonight and she won't be coming back, as she starts moving furniture to barricade herself inside the room. Although this house is very old, and from experience, old houses are very loud. So the other mother is totally downstairs, hearing every strained push of that vanity table going across the room. Coraline is not slick in hiding what she's doing at all. She's just destroying the hardwood floors. Then Coraline turns out the light and hides herself under the comforter while chanting, "Go to sleep, go to sleep." But she's also hearing hearing the echoes of the other mother saying, "There's only one tiny thing we need to do," and the other father going, "So sharp you won't feel a thing." Poor Coraline is haunted by the thought of getting buttons sewn into her eyes. And then we see a time lapse happen on screen that's very different than the ones we've previously seen. Before this, we've watched time speed up, but here we have time passing shown through a fading between scenes. So now, after an indeterminate amount of time, we can see the sun coming in through the blanket, and Coraline appears to be waking up after having genuinely fallen asleep. So we don't know how long it took for anything to happen, or rather not happen, because as Coraline flings off the covers and screams, "Mom! Dad!" we realize that the bright light waking her up was the full moon rising into her window frame, which would mean that not a lot of time has passed, because that full moon was already up after Other Spank and Forcible had their burlesque show. And I believe that Coraline's room is on the same side as the basement apartment stairs. So it's been maybe a few hours at most. And we see Coraline's face go from relieved to panicked as she looks around and goes, "I'm still here?" Her only known route to exiting the other world has not worked. So now what can she do? Well, go downstairs and look for the tiny door, obviously. But the living room doors are locked up and Coraline can't get in. There's also a peculiar little music box behind her in the hall. I wonder what that is and if it plays the same tune that the other mother hums. So many objects in the real world and the other world are the same, but I've never noticed this music box when we're supposed to be in the real world, and these silhouette cameos of other children I've also never seen in the real world. Which, sorry, I don't think I've talked about these in the scene breakdowns, but I've talked about them a lot in other theories. These silhouettes do not match the ghost children that we'll see later. This appears to be two boys and a girl from what I can see, and it's always made me think that the beldam has had a lot more victims than just those three ghost kids we see later. But also, having the pictures up would imply that she genuinely loved them, wouldn't it? I mean, look, I love steak. I don't put pictures of the cow I ate on my wall, so there is more to what the beldam does than just stealing children and eating them. Anyways, just as Coraline gives up on the living room doors, she hears a piano note down the hall and her face changes to a determined expression. Coraline storms into the other father's office, but the other father is just sitting there in the dark, poking at the piano keys kind of like a child with only his index fingers. Again, here's an example as to how all of these additional characters are just puppets. And the other father is running on emergency backup power reserves to function without the direction of the beldam. The other father then informs Coraline that all will be well once mother's refreshed. And that statement surprises Coraline and she drops her angry demeanor. But as the other father says, "Her strength is our strength," the spring-loaded piano gloves pop out of the back of the piano and it clamps one hand around the other father's mouth while the other hand wags its finger to tell him to stop talking. So I wonder how that works and if the other mother was already low on energy when the buttons were being offered at the dining room table. And maybe that's why the other father was saying the wrong things, because the beldam didn't have enough power left to keep him under control. And that could make a lot of sense depending on how the beldam recharges, because if she replenishes her power by sleeping, kind of like humans do, then the first two times that Coraline came to the other world, she arrived at night, and she had an adventure, had dinner, and went to bed. But on this visit, her third visit, Coraline showed up in the middle of the day, so the beldam's magic had to be used for a longer period than was normal. And I've also talked about this years ago, but I think the primary function of putting buttons in Coraline's eyes is so that the beldam doesn't have to worry about the visual elements of the other world, because making the visuals eats up a lot of her powers. Think of it like a TV show. If Coraline has buttons in her eyes and she can't see see anything except what the beldam projects as a TV show kind of into her button eyes, then that's going to conserve a lot of energy compared to having to make a fully 3D set that is a functional world so that Coraline can interact and not realize that it's all fake. However, the gloves have gotten upset with other Charlie and they spin him back to the piano, which makes me think that the beldam has him play while she's resting so that she can audibly tell where the other father is at all times. Because if the beldam is resting, she's not puppeting him and he can kind of go into NPC mode. And the other father just seems to be talking to himself out loud. Mustn't talk when mother's not here. So Coraline gets angry again and she says that she'll go find the other Wybie if he won't give her answers. And the other father tells Coraline that there's no point in that because other Wybie pulled a long face and mother didn't like it. And the other father contorts his mouth in the most unsettling way here. However, the gloves are still on the payroll and they are taking none of this nonsense. They reach over and literally squash the other father's face into a little ball and once again force him to face the piano. And Coraline gasps and runs out of the room and then out of the house. We're going to call it here because next we see the weird orchard and meet the cat for another info dump, and I think a lot is going to be pulled out of that scene. But I would like to offer an alternative thought to this meeting with the other father. Yes, the other father is saying things that he shouldn't, and he seems to be getting in trouble with the objects in the house, so it seems to be very genuine that these things he's saying are real. However, if the beldam's goal right now is to scare Coraline and keep her trapped in the other world and let her know, hey, there's no escape, so you're going to have to get these buttons and play my game my way if you want things to be even a little bit nice, then scaring the holy bejesus out of Coraline is definitely the way to go. And so yeah, theoretically, it could be the beldam puppeting the other father right now because she wants Coraline to be afraid. Also, I'll get into it more when we get back to the tunnel, but I don't think Coraline is always going through the same tunnel. So there's also a chance that the beldam is trying to scare Coraline here to make her go through the little door, because going through that door puts her in a further out of reach place from the real world. Yes, we're back to the limbo pink palace, but I'm not going to keep going on here. So let's move on to comment appreciation. First, channel member Corey Noel Dancer CNN, I hope I put those letters together well, made a really good point that other Wybie feeling bad implies that he has to have some form of free will, and so thereby he can't be a puppet of the beldam because he wouldn't be feeling guilty if he were. And that does make a fantastic conundrum to talk about, also perfectly timed, because other Wybie is looking guilty even when Coraline can't see him. And the other mother is telling him to smile again where that action isn't being seen by Coraline. So yeah, that interprets as a very genuine feeling. But here's the way I reconcile it in my head, and I've probably not explained this very well before, so sorry. Similar to the other father, I think other Wybie is a puppet who is overall controlled by the beldam. But when she is resting, or when Coraline and the other mother are in the same space, I think it would be very difficult for the beldam to puppet these other characters all at once. So when the other mother isn't around, she has the option to control and pilot people like a skin suit. Kind of like she's playing a video game and other Wybie is her avatar. However, when the beldam isn't piloting these bodies, they can't just fall over limp. They have to have some sort of functionality so that they're not creepy if Coraline finds them on their own. So they have to have some kind of NPC mode where they can function by themselves. Meaning, when other Wybie is at the circus show, he's actually a full puppet of the beldam so that she can watch Coraline and control her experience. But as soon as the beldam starts talking, we see other Wybie stop smiling and start looking guilty. And I think that's because the beldam had to switch off her control of other Wybie so that she could fully concentrate on piloting her own body and closing the deal. Just like the beldam is allegedly resting in this scene, so the other father isn't being influenced comments by her if she's asleep. And again, that's all assuming that this isn't all a big plot of the Beldam to scare Coraline through the door and keep her trapped in another space. Whew, does that make it more or less clear for everybody? We're juggling multiple theories at once here. Okay, sorry, that was a long explanation, so let me get some shorter replies here. Denise Jeffries, 2675, had a good laugh at my chest bison's comment. May we all collectively remember this alternative word for a lady's pillowy bits. DIJ7897 has memorized my outro, and I love that. Here I thought I was the only one robotically repeating that all the time. And since I just saw this, SJE McCabe my dyslexia really doesn't like letters, sorry. But they just left a comment on the video I posted early for the channel members saying they just joined. Yay! Thank you so much. And I'm guessing by your name that I know who you are, but either way, you are very appreciated. And of course, everyone else who is willing and able can join channel memberships and see videos before they're released publicly as well. That does it for me today. I might be overthinking it, but that's literally my job. And to any of my members here on YouTube, a huge bottom of my heart thank you for all of your help and support. If you would like to become a paid channel member, there is a link in the description below. Thanks again, guys. Love you. Well, family members, we're almost done, but I want to invite you to hang out with me in some other places. I'm on Twitter and Instagram as my own personal self, and I have a Facebook page too, but I mostly just post photos over there. And sometimes people say, "Hey McGann, I want to mail you something. How do I do that?" Easy. Just click the About tab on my channel page, and my most current P.O. Box info will be right there. I also run another channel, The Family. It's really a hodgepodge channel where we might post anything. Oh yeah, and I also sell shirts and stickers and stuff with the Family and the Fangirl logos. If that is your cup of tea, I have a link in every description of every video. Finally, if you want to help out the Fangirl channel and make sure I'm putting out video essays for years to come, the best way you can help is by subscribing and watching more of my videos, whether they're new, old, whatever. Maybe even share one or two on social media, help spread the word. People who watch to the end of videos like you helps to tell the site, hey, this is a good video, we should recommend it to other people. So if you made it this far, leave me a comment of something like, hey, I made it to the end. Love ya. See you next time, family members. Bye.